How would you like to grow your business the easy way, and in my humble opinion, the fun way, through speaking? Yes, you can literally speak your way to more business, and we can show you how. When I started my coaching business 15 years ago, I struggled making only $900 in the first 2 years. Yeah, you heard that right. Less than $1,000 in 2 years. The problem? I was busy running around to networking events and handing out business cards, trying to help everyone, everyone. Then I took the stage for the first time in my life and began speaking and teaching about the strategies I coached on. And when I really got my message dialed in, my business went literally from 3 figures a year to 7 figures. The secret I finally realized is that when you take the stage, you instantly become seen as the leading voice in your niche or industry. Today, we show entrepreneurs just like you and just like I was how to dominate your niche by becoming the leading voice, not just another expert. We run an incredible business mastermind speaker training program. It's called The Leading Voice. You guessed it. If you head over to leadingvoiceplatform.com/podcast and grab my free roadmap, 8 Pillars to Profitable Speaking. This free roadmap outlines the exact 8 secret weapons you need to truly become the leading voice in your niche. This is exclusively for my podcast listeners. You go to leadingvoiceplatform.com/podcast and start speaking your way to more business.
Welcome to The Driven Entrepreneur, where we sit down with visionaries, trailblazers, and entrepreneurs and discover why and how they do what they do. We'll get the backstory, plus plenty of life and business lessons along the way. Here's your host, Matt Brauning.
Broadcasting from the Leadership Academy studios, aka my new basement. Welcome to The Driven Entrepreneur. This is the go-to plan for coaches, authors, speakers, and entrepreneurs of all kinds to start, grow, and profit a business that you love. Hey, I'm your host, Matt Brauning, and with me today is another co-author from our new book, Driven to Courage, and I really wanted to introduce you to this guest. He's an incredible person, very, very inspiring, and to me, has a story that, well, quite frankly, is going to get you up off the couch as you listen to it. Today's guest is 7-time Ironman Triathlete, performance expert, and business coach, Richard Greene. Now, he teaches his IronMind sales training success formula. He's been featured on ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox. His client list is long and includes Microsoft, Whole Foods, Target, JP Morgan Chase, CVS, Coors, the Mayo Clinic, Coca-Cola, and it keeps going. He has been there, done that for over 3 decades, working in the sales industry. And along the way, he's also become a 7-time Ironman. Welcome to the show, Rich. How are you, man?
Hey, Matt. Great. Thanks for having me on. Good to be in your basement.
Good to be in my basement. Hey, I love that you're here with me. You're coming all the way from the other coast. Rich, we just started right before we got on talking about your most recent Ironman endeavor. So you got off the couch. We're going to talk about your story, and you've done the Ironman 7 times.
Yeah, right. Well, I've actually competed 8 times.
And you competed 8 times. So when did you, and you just did the World Championships?
I did.
That's incredible. And how long ago was that?
That was 6 weeks ago.
Holy moly. You just got back from there. And are you walking? Are you I'd be limping, man. I'd be on the couch right now.
Yeah, the recovery, the muscle recovery wasn't bad. The internal recovery took about a month.
The internal recovery,
very tired.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Hey, catch us up a little bit. By the way, guys, Rich has been on the show. You were on a couple years ago, and I first met you, and we had you on immediately. I thought, what a great story. You have a really inspiring story because you, to me, are like the everyday person who did extraordinary stuff. I see myself in you, at least in the lazy part that you used to be, if that makes sense. Your story, you're on the couch and you're deciding that you want to do something different. Can you catch us up a little bit and tell us about what happened when you decided to do your first Ironman?
Yeah, well, it actually wasn't didn't happen right away, but it did happen pretty quick. Once I made a decision, and like a lot of people, Matt, I had one of those wake up calls, a health wake up call, and for most of my professional career, I never moved a muscle my entire adult life. And I probably didn't, take care of myself the way not probably. I didn't take care of myself the way I should have. I ate too much. I drank too much. I did all of the wrong things. I didn't exercise. And then one day I found myself in the doctor's office, and I'd been in that waiting room for about an hour. When I went to the examination room, I tell you, I was not in great shape. I knew my blood pressure was high. I'd been dizzy a lot. I just had not been not sleeping, not been feeling well. I knew I was overweight, way overweight. I was obese, actually. I was obese. I'll admit it right now. It's tough. But I went to that doctor's office and I went in and I could smell the antiseptic in it and it was cold. And I thought to myself, this is a place where people go to die. I know that's dramatic, but again, I wasn't feeling well. And so that's where it all started. And the nurse, she came in and she took my blood pressure, and Matt, it was 209 over 107. Just to put things,
moly.
You know that that's high.
207.
207 over 109.
Now, standard-ish, like 120 over 80.
Yeah,
depending
120
on
over 80,
size and age,
120
et cetera, et cetera.
yes.
But wow. So, I mean, you weren't just a little high. You were massively off kilter, and you could feel it?
Oh, yeah, I could feel it. I knew I was in bad shape.
What'd your doctor say?
Well, the nurse left the room and she came back with the doctor. And they both came in together with this big machine that they were wheeling in. It was, a EKG machine, a heart monitor. And I knew when I saw that machine that things weren't good, because typically they just write you a prescription and send you on your way. And that's not what they did that day. So my doctor, as he's looking at I'm all hooked up. I got all these wires and these pads on my chest, and I can see he's got a concerned look on his face. And I say, Doc, what is it? What is it? Never mind. I know I'm going to have a heart attack. And he looked at me and said, Mr. Greene, you're not going to have a heart attack. But if you don't change your ways, you're probably going to have a stroke and you're probably going to die. And I tell you, I got dizzy all of a sudden. And,
how old are you at this point?
I was 51 years old.
51. And see, that, and look, unless you're 18, listen to this. I promise you, 51 is not old. You're at the halfway point. Maybe. No, exactly. You're like way too young to be getting that kind of news. So you make the choice and you start changing. And again, what I love about your change, you didn't just change your diet, start to exercise a bit. You went extreme. How long did it take you to go from doctor's office to I'm signing up for my first Ironman race?
Signing up for the first Ironman race, honestly, it was a matter of about a month.
Whoa. So a month in, you're nowhere near ready, but you knew, is this a deal where you have to sign up so that you keep you're committed and you get your motivation? Or were you just in fantasy land thinking, yeah, why not? I'll do a race.
I was totally in fantasy land. So I really had no clue. I remember seeing the Ironman races when I was a kid on TV, and I thought, yeah, I've done all kinds of things. I could do that. And, the reality of it was that I signed up way, way in advance. It took me almost a year to train for it. And a pretty massive transformation in my physical health that happened during that time period.
Well, and that's actually what I want to spend a bit of time on. We haven't a lot on this show talked about like the physical habits and the health and the transformation that it takes, and also the mindset. Last time we talked a lot about sales. We talked about your sales training, which of course you're an unbelievable expert at. You have 3 decades experience with all the people we mentioned earlier in the open. So guys, go back and listen. We'll put the link in the archives for our last show with Rich, and you can get all the sales training as well. And know you have some gifts and some freebies and some cool stuff around that. I really wanted to, especially with your story, this Ironman story made it into our new book, Driven to Courage. You have an entire chapter that you've co-authored, all about that iron mind. And I want to spend some time talking really about how to access that for the everyday person. So for most of us, we're not going to do an Ironman when, times get tough and I want to prove to myself and change everything. I might not do an Ironman. Maybe I will. I don't know. I don't like swimming that much. Talk to me about some of what it took in your mindset to go from, I'm the kind of guy who sits on the couch or drinks beer or over whatever it is, to I'm the kind of guy who's an athlete. I'm the kind of guy who can do something like this. How long was that identity change and what was that like for you?
Well, the identity change actually took years. I had to believe it. I had to state it first before I could even make the attempt. And even after I finished my first Ironman, and I've successfully completed 7 of them, but even after I completed my first one, I still didn't see myself as an athlete because I was, as a kid, I was sort of awkward. I was nearsighted and I wasn't a great athlete as a kid. And that's what I saw myself as an adult. So there was not just the first transformation of physical success, but then the transformation of the mind also, to be able to really see myself as who I had become.
Do you see yourself as an athlete now? Because I get that when you said that, it's really interesting that it's like, it made me wonder, how many Ironmans does it take, not to screw the light bulb, but how many races does it take until you feel like I'm a racer, right? How many climbs does it take until I feel like I'm a rock climber? How many kids does it take until I feel like I'm a parent? I don't know, right? Like, what do you feel like that was for you? Or are you still kind of working that out because you're human? Like, how would you respond to, are you an athlete or do you see yourself that way?
I do see myself as an athlete. I do see myself as somebody who's completed sort of an extraordinary feat.
Good, because I think we all do too.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
But to put things in perspective, 1% of the population has done a marathon. Now, a marathon is part of the Ironman. So just to kind of back up,
catch us up on what the race is.
The
whole Ironman race, just to make sure we're all on the same page here, guys. It's extraordinary.
Yeah. So it's a triathlon. So it's 3 sports. It's swimming, it's biking, and it's running. And you start off with a swim first, and that's a 2.4 mile swim, usually in open water in the ocean or in a lake or a river. So 2.4 mile swim. When we get done with that, then you put on your bike shoes and your helmet, and you ride 112 miles on the bike.
Which is beyond a century ride, which in and of itself is also a major feat that cyclists do. Fair?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then when you're done with that, you put on your running shoes and you run a marathon.
So every time you said when you get done with that, I in my head said, then you go to the couch.
It's like, I tell you, when you get through with each of these, you feel like you want to go to the couch. And that's where the mind comes into play, because you really have to keep coaching yourself that you've got to keep going, that you've got to accomplish what you set up to accomplish.
So what sorts of dialogue do you use in your own, like in the inner mind? What do you say to yourself in the first race versus what kind of language do you use if it changes in maybe, the more recent races, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
How do you coach yourself?
Yeah, it's an evolution. I mean, I think the first race, I don't know how I got through it. I had 17 hours to complete the race. It was 108 degrees that day, and I completed it in 16 hours, 48 minutes, and 32 seconds.
Wow.
So I just barely, finished that race in time. So that was a little bit different, sort of a mental coaching than it is today, because along the way, I developed a 4-step process to help me through the tough times. And that's the 4-step process that I actually teach people when they're in facing tough situations outside of doing an Ironman.
And that's what we talk about with the book in your chapter. Is
right.
The whole idea of when the unexpected happens, when you find yourself in a hard situation, which again, like, I don't know anyone who hasn't found themselves in a version of a hard situation over the last couple of years, if not, for more than that. But you're a great example, again, of a guy who you got yourself to the first race. I mean, like willpower, coaching yourself, just whatever it takes, you got it. But along the way, it's like, okay, I need to find a way before I'm a quote unquote athlete to get the job done and to stick with it. So walk us through what that 4-step process is, because I'm certainly intrigued.
All right. So before I do that, I'll tell you the little secret. It's kind of embarrassing, but I'll tell you the secret that got me through that first race.
Okay.
I told everybody on Facebook that I was doing this, and I wasn't bragging. I just knew I had to put it out there. And so as I'm struggling through this first race and through all sorts of stuff that happened, I keep saying, I told everybody on Facebook I was doing this. I got to finish, because I can't go back to Facebook and tell them I didn't do it.
Oh, hundreds of people. How was the race? How did it go?
Exactly.
Well,
I actually have thousands of people following me.
Thousands of people.
Yeah. So it would have been horrible. So that was the secret for the first one. And you know what? That's not a bad strategy. Just it's a little ego. Just use your ego.
Yeah. So what's the principle behind there? Literally, it's like put your ego in front.
Put your ego in front, and use that to drive yourself to achieve that which is really difficult. And actually, that was the thinking that went into the first step, the 4-step process that I referred to, that I use now and that I teach now. And that first step is you got to declare yourself a winner, even before you are winning, and whatever winning means to you. And I'm going to propose that winning isn't first, second, or third place. Okay. There's lots of ways that you can win in life. So number one is just saying, I'm a winner, and making that declaration.
So what's another example? Because I'm with you on that, right? It's not just the gold medal or whatever, but I know you talk about sometimes finishing is winning. You say, hey, winning could be finishing the race. And in a relationship, it's different too, right? Maybe, winning is, are we happy and healthy? Or winning is in business, it could be, do I have free time? Or are my clients happy? Or what's the revenue? Or fill in the blank. Is that the kind of thing we're talking about? That, declare that I'm a winner and then define what winning is?
Yeah, actually, that leads me exactly into step 2.
Oh, perfect. That's exactly my intention, Rich.
I mean, yeah, you absolutely.
Step 2.
Yeah, you absolutely have to declare yourself a winner, and setting the goal, setting the confines of what winning means is really important. So, for example, one of the races that I did, I had set the goal that I was going to finish the Ironman in 15 hours. That was my goal. That, for me, that was winning.
And this isn't the first one, but this is along the way.
Yeah, this is along the way. So I was going to finish in 15 hours. And then something happened. Something horrible happened. And it was, another hot day. I've done a lot of races during hot days. It was a hot day, and I was getting dehydrated, and I came to an aid station, and they ran out of water. They ran out of water.
What?
So I know. And I'm at the aid station, and there are people lying all over the ground, athletes that had just quit, that had given up. And I saw 2 pickup trucks filled with bikes that were taking the athletes' bikes back to the starting line because they quit. So, that's one of those situations where other people have given up. They didn't make it. And I'm faced almost with the same type of a choice. Can I go on? Because physically I'm in bad shape, and I could be harming myself. And so when you do that, then then your goal is out the window, right?
Right. So when your goal changes,
yeah, right.
What do you do?
Your goal is going to change. So, that brings up step number 2. So step number 2, when those things happen, I say, don't give up, set a new goal. And so in that instance, I set a new goal. My new goal was get back in the race and finish.
Yeah. So now it's not about, I love the 15 hours, but now that's not responsible.
Right. Not responsible, and from a time perspective, I was falling behind anyway. So I needed to not quit, but I needed to find something to keep myself going, to keep myself motivated. So crossing that finish line in under 17 hours was the new goal.
I love that. Yeah. Now, how they ran out of water. Don't tell me. You didn't have to drink your own pee, right? How did you rehydrate? Or did you?
Actually, I hadn't thought about
These things
that
get
until
real.
just now, Matt. Thanks a lot.
You could have been back in the race, man. 15 and a half.
Well, this is one of those situations where I found sort of what, at that particular time, what my limits were. What would I do to get back in the race and finish? And so they had no water, they had no Gatorade, they had no electrolytes, all of the things that you would expect in aid station at mile 81 of the race. So I had already finished 2.4 miles swim. I had already finished 81 miles of the bike ride. And here I was, no water, no liquids, nothing to sustain me for the rest of the race. And Matt, I saw a kiddie pool. You know, one of those little blue pools that probably your mom put you in as a kid. And I went over to that pool and I looked into that pool, the water, and I realized that's where all the water was, the Gatorade, earlier in the day. And it was probably filled with ice. But now it just had, hot water in it. And there were labels from the water bottle. There were leaves, there were grass, there were bugs and flies all in that water. And it was a dingy brown, like somebody had washed their feet off in it. And I thought about it. I think that's probably what happened, because when you're hot, what do you want to do, right? You want to cool off.
So I was just throwing my mouth a little bit.
Yeah.
And what happened?
I bet you can probably guess. I bent down and I pushed aside the labels and the grass and the bugs, and I scooped that dingy brown water up and I drank it. And I just kept drinking it for about 10 minutes.
Wow.
Well enough. I mean, I filled my stomach. And then I got back in the race. Oh, I filled up my water bottles too. I had 2 water bottles on my bike and I just stuck them in and filled them up.
Full of brown kiddie pool foot water. You're epic. And you finished the race.
Yes, I did finish the race. I got back in the race. So first of all, number 2 is, number 1 is you got to declare yourself winner. Number 2 is you got to set a new goal. Number 3 is you got to set a strategy. And so I had to get a new strategy. And I realized with the time I had left, and by the time I finished the bike and I got to do the marathon, that I would have 6 hours left. Now,
for the whole marathon.
Now, it's a really long time. If you're a marathoner, you know that's a really long time. But after 10 hours of racing,
that's right in there.
I'm not a runner. I keep saying that. I've finished 7 marathons, but I'm not a runner. For me, it's just survival. I've like perfected this running style called the 26-mile shuffle limp.
The 26-mile shuffle limp. I like it.
So
you come up with a new strategy.
Yeah, and my strategy was I did some mental math, and I figured if I did a just under 15-minute mile, I could finish within the 17-hour time limit. And so that was my new plan. And so that's great, except for I was not in good shape, and I was really suffering, and my back hurt, and I was in a lot of pain. And that's where step number 4 came in. Probably one of the most important steps.
Lay it on us.
All right. Finish what you start. I kept telling myself for that whole 26 miles, every time I wanted to quit, finishers are winners. Finishers are winners. You got to finish what you started. And finishing in life is so important because here's a stat for you. University of Scranton did a study, found that 92% of the people who set a goal did not achieve the goal. They quit. They didn't finish it. 92%.
Wow.
So if you could just finish what you start, you're in the top 10% right there.
Just by finishing. And again, to your point, it's not even about what rank you finish, whatever it is. Our good friend Keith Cunningham always says, get in line and stay in line is one of the best business strategies.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not about how fast you get up there. It's about the fact that you don't leave, right? You don't get out of line and leave and do something different. Just staying can often be enough. I love that. So you've taken this, obviously, Rich, and we've had many conversations about this, and I always love your winning attitude, and yet your super humble attitude. You've applied that into the sales arena with amazing force and incredible results with so many of these clients you've worked with, and coaching the entrepreneurs, the small business owners, just like the big guys, and showing them how to continue and win at sales by finishing. Talk to us a bit about if you were speaking to my entire sales group, right? What's, outside of your 4-step formula, what's something that you always want, especially young, hungry salespeople, entrepreneurs to believe, to hear, to learn? What's kind of one of your go-tos that's a real good, valuable gem?
I'm going to take the experience that I just shared with you. I take that experience and I move it into the business and the sales arena. And I move it specifically into the sales arena. And I actually have developed a 5-step process. How to win in sales 100% of the time. Get ready for this, Matt. 100% of the time. even when the prospect says no.
Yay.
Yeah.
And this is more complicated. This is a 5-step process.
Yeah, it's one more step. It actually is a very complicated process because it's simple to understand, but there are a lot of steps and a lot of moving parts. But it is a way that you can always get a win in business, even when the prospect says no. And so I take people through this process from step 1 to step 5. Step 1 meaning, you already know you didn't get the sale. And what are you going to do? Well, what do most people do? Most people just kind of walk away, tuck their tail between their legs and walk away. And I say, you've already done all this work and you know who that person is. Now, what are you going to leverage out of it? What are you going to do to develop the relationship? And what are you going to do to leverage the work that you did to just get to know that person and let them know who you are? And so the series of steps that I take people through actually will warrant, either great marketing or great referrals or just great things that help you to build your business. And at the end of the day, if you get nothing other than a friend, super, because we can all use more friends, right?
That sounds fun. How to win friends, and 100% of the time, even if they don't want to be friends with you. I love that. Rich Greene, everyone. Hey, and you put together a resource for that too. I want to make sure we plug that because it's really, really good. And guys, we're talking about, so I'm clear, how to win at sales 100% of the time, even when the prospect says no. This isn't about winning the sale, convincing someone, manipulating someone, right? Even when they don't want to. This is about how to win at the process and how to win at the relationship, right?
Absolutely. And by the way, sales, just for those of you out there who think that sales is about getting convinced or cajoled or tricked, people that do that, they're posers. They're not real professional salespeople. The person who wants to buy will always buy when they're ready to buy. And we just are responsible people that supply the information. And then the buyer makes up their own mind.
I agree 100% of the time, Rich. Really good. So where can we grab that? You have that whole 100% of the time winning formula set up and ready to go. That's like a download a PDF or something.
Yeah, well, it'll actually there are videos, there are PDFs. I will walk you through the entire 5-step process, and you can put it into play with absolutely every sales opportunity that you have as you get to the end of it, so that you can make sure that you win no matter what the answer is. I put together a special package just for your listeners, Matt. They can access it at the 100, the number 100, the 100percentwinner.com/driven.
Love that. The 100%, spell out percent winner. 100percentwinner.com/driven. And so this is actually I didn't realize that, Rich. I love this. This is a whole mini course you have. It's videos teaching the 5 steps, it's PDFs and handouts, and really you're walking through each one of those and taking any salesperson from where they are to much, much more extraordinary results. I think that's awesome. And it's free. So, go grab it, the 100percentwinner.com/driven. Rich, you're awesome, man. I so appreciate you. Always, always do. And then, as we said, Rich's story and so much more is in the book. We just finished going through your second round of editing. And I'll tell you, every time I show it to my wife, she was reading it going, I like all the stories, but I like the triathlete guy the best. That's what she said. I like the triathlete guy the best. I really like she just loved your story, and it's super inspiring. You can get it again. It's in the Driven to Courage book, How to Deal with the Unexpected and Come Out Stronger. And that is available right now. It's on pre-sale. If you head over there immediately to driventocourage.com/pre-sale, you'll get the pre-sale bundle that comes with the book and the audiobook free and the ebook free and 2 tickets to our live event Success Revolution for free that normally are $1,000 each. It's free. And you get a whole co-author bundle, amazing gift bundle with everyone who contributed a story. They all also gave a gift to the pre-order folks. So head over to driventocourage.com/presale and you can get my stories in there, Rich's stories in there, 4-time Olympian Ruben Gonzalez's stories in there, and many, many other inspiring people that you've probably heard on this show already. Rich, thank you for being a part of this. I sure appreciate you. Thank you for coming on the show. And goodness sakes, thank you for inspiring me. If you wanted to leave me with one inspirational thought idea. Rich, get me off the couch tonight.
So, well, first of all, just get off the couch. Just do it. But
I'm standing up right now.
There you go.
Standing up right now. Let's do it.
And that's probably more exercise than a lot of people get during the day. So good for you. But here's what I'm going to leave you with. It is the ending that makes the beginning worthwhile. Finish what you start.
Well said. That is the meme for the show. Thank you, Rich Greene. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Matt. Good time.
All right, guys, that's the show for this week. Thanks again to my guest, Rich Greene. Incredible, Rich, 7-time Ironman, inspirational person, and about to have his 60th birthday. So I don't know if we mentioned his age, but how about that? About to have his 60th birthday as we record this, and just crushing it out there in the business world and in the athlete world. And speaking of crushing it, make sure that you grab, of course, Rich's gift, and make sure you grab pre-sale copy of our book. It's only $20. Shipping is included for the pre-sale only. Afterwards, you got to pay for it, but shipping is included for the pre-sale, plus all the goodies like the ebook and the audiobook and everything else. driventocourage.com/pre-sale. Get out there this weekend, grab the book, and of course, stay driven. And I'll see you next week with another Driven Entrepreneur. Bye-bye. Hey, this episode is brought to you by my very own NLP practitioner course. I've been teaching neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP, for nearly 15 years. It is the most powerful tool for communication on the planet, and it can be yours today. For a very limited time, I'm giving away my entire NLP course workbook for free. Go to nlpwithmatt.com. All the patterns, all the tools, and the techniques of NLP in the complete course workbook, the same one that we use to teach our live certification classes, yours free. nlpwithmatt.com. Get it today. Let's get back to the show.